Most cryptocurrencies are meaningless garbage, but there are two that actually affect the entire world and some countries significantly. The runner-up is Ethereum because it allows contracts between two or more parties to be conducted without anyone actually meeting. It's brilliant. That's why we call it a smart contract platform. And billions of dollars in transactions every day take place on this network. These are the 13 countries that currently have an Ethereum ETF. And if you don't know what an ETF is, it's just an exchange-traded fund. Now, the fund owns the Ethereum, but the people who invest in it are buying shares of that Ethereum, not the actual Ethereum itself. Anyone who's really into crypto realizes that's kind of dumb. Why would we do that? But institutional investors who are much more conservative think that that's okay, so they'll invest in it. Right now, there's about $15 billion in total Ethereum ETFs, and Grayscale holds the largest one by about $4.5 billion. And there's about $4 billion exchanged every day in Ethereum. That number can fluctuate, but that's the average. One of the biggest problems as to why Ethereum probably isn't going to see global adoption is it's just not scalable. They can't handle more than, 50 to 100 transactions per second at their very best. And when you're a multinational corporation, you may have to deal with thousands or millions a day. There are already corporations all over the world that are using Ethereum-like, or at least some kind of smart contract platform, but it's private, not public. But there are countries that are using smart contract platforms that are public, and they're not Ethereum. And Bitcoin by far has the most impact on the entire world for so many reasons. I can list a few. Russia and Lebanon are two perfect examples for when a country's currency collapses for whatever reason. What happens is the miners or other people will start to get Bitcoin, and they will exchange that Bitcoin for a stable coin like USDT. And then they will exchange that stable coin for actual US dollars, just to have money to survive or flee the country. Then there is El Salvador, whose country, Nayib Bukele, has bravely implemented Bitcoin as one of their official currencies, along with the US dollar. During COVID, when the US did a lot of stimulus and printed trillions of US dollars, everyone in America was doing well because they were flush with cash, but that cash did not escape the US, which means any country that pegged their currency to the dollar or was using dollars as their own currency saw the value of their holdings and savings plummet. President Bukele concluded, all right, we were depending on having the US dollar as a stable form of currency, but we can't do that anymore, especially with the United States' exorbitant debt. So he chose to go to Bitcoin. And so far, it's paid off because the average purchasing price for that Bitcoin was around $35,000, maybe $40,000, and now Bitcoin is at $93,000. There are 10 countries that have a Bitcoin ETF, and there are 37 total Bitcoin ETFs globally. There is about $130 billion held in Bitcoin ETFs and about $30 billion of trading volume daily, so much bigger than Ethereum because Bitcoin is seen more as a store of value. The reason why we haven't seen more Bitcoin ETFs around the world is because Bitcoin is looked upon more as a threat to other countries' currency, even the US dollars. And if you want to look at the actual owners of Bitcoin by country, you see that India takes the lead with over 93 million. China's number 2, the US is number 3. And look at the bottom 7, you see that these are countries that do experience a lot of currency instability. Then there's Bitcoin in the final frontier of the world, which is Africa. I believe the next renaissance that's going to happen will take place on this continent, most likely in Nigeria. If you look at the global ranking of Bitcoin adoption in their actual ecosystem, this is outside of El Salvador, of course, you will see that Nigeria ranks number 2. And there are 4 African countries which are in the top 30 of crypto adoption, which is Ethiopia, Morocco, Kenya, South Africa. African countries by far see the greatest fluctuations in the values of their currency, and they do need something that can maintain value just for them to survive. Some of them maybe even thrive. There's no doubt in my mind that it's Western markets and other Western interests, maybe a little bit of Eastern, but mainly Western, that alter the fate of a lot of African economics. And it's the way the US manipulates its own dollar, and of course the way the French manipulate a lot of African currencies, because unfortunately a lot of African currencies happen to be priced in France. And I'm talking about the former French colonies in Africa. And it's the African peoples having access to something like Bitcoin, which is nowhere near as easily manipulated as any other currency. It does give them a greater deal of stability and possibly a way to prosper. Then there's the fact that the US government likes to seize Bitcoin. I mean, they just seized 69,000 Bitcoins earlier this year. That's about $4.4 billion. And that adds up to over 210,000 Bitcoin that the US government was just able to take. And that totals close to $20 billion, if not more. That's about 1% of Bitcoin's total supply, which is going to be 21 million. And there's 18 million in circulation right now. So yeah, the vast majority of cryptos, if not over 99% of them, are all scams. But Ethereum and especially Bitcoin are now world movers. If it's a scam, then it is the most potent scam that has affected every single major economy on the planet.